All right, well, thank you, everyone. Let me get my sharing going here. Make sure I share my computer audio, get this all straight. I think that should work. Okay, let me know if you see my screen.
I do.
Okay, very good. So yes, my name is Tad Douse. I'm one of the directors of the Drones in School program, which is part of the Multi-GP STEM Alliance. So Multi-GP is the largest kind of amateur racing organization in the world. They have, I think, like 50,000 pilots or something like that worldwide, huge number. Jordan Kruger, who presented earlier today, he's one of the pilots and races in that series. They wanted to start working on some STEM initiatives, and so we got involved with them. So this program, Drones in School, is designed for the 6th through 12th grade student. CDRA, which Jordan's involved with, is for the collegiate level, and that's more racing. So let's talk a little about what we're doing here. So this whole program was designed, let me get this moved out of the way. There we go. By classroom educators. So myself, I'm a pre-engineering educator. And as you probably guessed, as you've looked through or listened today, there's some real challenges to bringing drones into a school. I'm based in Ohio, and so outdoor drones aren't really usable for about a third to half of our school calendar because it's snowing and it's cold and kids can't go outside or it's raining. So we really tried to figure out how do we get drones inside. It also eliminates some of the FAA 107 challenges that schools face. And so we started kind of exploring that option. To have an indoor drone, you have a small drone. So a large drone isn't going to work indoors, as you probably figured out. So we'd had something pretty small. We wanted something safe, and then we wanted something that was more than just to race a drone. And we wanted to be some curricular ties. So what we came up with is a program, again, called Drones in School. And in Drones in School, you form a team. It kind of alludes to what Ken spoke to before transferred over to me, looking at those 4Cs. So what are the things that companies want you to do with your students? Flying drones is valuable for some, but it's not, there's not enough careers for every student. So how do we look at expanding that where every student can kind of get a specialty? And so we came up with the idea of creating a racing team. In a racing team, you've got project management, right? Somebody's got to manage the project of developing this racing drone. You have graphic designers because you're going to create logos. You're going to do marketing, so a marketing coordinator. You're going to have to build the drone. You're going to have to do design work for the drone, for other aspects of the competition we'll get into. And you've got to have technicians that can repair the drone because, as you might have guessed, they crash and they break. So all those things work together. So we have teams of 3 to 6 students. Each student gets a role, or they can have multiple roles to fill those 6 job roles. And then through that, they develop teamwork, project management, and then each role has deliverables that they have to bring to a competition. So what does a competition look like? Well, it's not just racing. A lot of people think that, well, Drones in School or drone racing is just about the flying. And for us, that's only a small part of the total presentation. If you're able to catch, we had a student team present earlier today, and they kind of alluded to that they learned how to fly really well, but they didn't pay attention to all the other aspects of what it takes to be a good racing team, and so they didn't win their competition. So you have a display booth. So students have to create a display booth to be kind of like a marketing piece. They have technical evaluations, so they have to have a portfolio that gets judged. They have engineering that they go through, so design, manufacturing, creating that drone from scratch. And then they create a video, again, which is some marketing pieces. So we do a lot of marketing, a lot of graphic design, a lot of project management that goes into this whole process. So it's not just a, buy a drone, fly a drone kind of thing. So the process students go through is they plan. We do a lot of work planning what they're going to do. They design, they make their drone, they test their drone, and they race their drones. Let's talk a little bit about each of those. Well, planning, first of all, something that we kind of stumbled upon was an organization called the Project Management Institute. I don't know if anybody's heard of them, But there's a whole body of knowledge around managing projects. And I found as an educator, I'd never heard of this. So I was kind of shocked, that in school we do nothing but manage projects, but I'd never heard about project management, and that there was really some tools and some processes I could use to manage projects efficiently. Moreover, a lot of times I saw teachers struggling with doing project-based learning because this teacher was managing the project, where we want students to learn how to manage the project. So it's been very popular for us because of that piece of our curriculum and our resources is the project management piece. So students are able to learn how to project management through this. Additionally, there's credentials you can get. So obviously we've heard a lot about the Part 107 license. Some students pursue that. It's not something we require for our current curriculum because we fly indoors. Eventually, we may expand at the high school level to a larger drone that may need to fly outdoors, but it's something certainly a lot of schools are looking at. And the other piece is the amateur radio technician license. So a lot of our advisors and our students are looking at getting the amateur radio license because understanding radio technology is critical to being able to control a drone remotely. It's also critical to the video feed on the FPV goggles and the video camera. So all those pieces go together to really make a lot of options for your students to kind of pick where they want to go and pick up these extra certifications. The next thing you have to do is design. Now, all of our students are using some kind of parametric modeling software, some kind of CAD software. We have a lot of teams using Onshape this year, which is from a company called PTC. It's available free for schools. And it's nice thing with Onshape, a lot of schools are remote right now. So it works on any web-enabled device. It doesn't require an installation like an Autodesk software might. I think Autodesk also has Tinkercad that's out there that's web-based as well. So students go through, they design their drone, they learn how to use this parametric modeling software. They also learn graphic design and marketing and some of those pieces as well. Once they have their design, then they make it, right? So you have a couple examples here of how students might make a drone. In the upper left corner, you'll see a vacuum former. So they've actually used vacuum forming to create a drone frame that they could build their drone into. And then the other one, the blue frame you'll see there, that's a typical 3D printed FDM printing of a drone. A lot of teams are using PLA, which is a regular plastic typically used in drone and in 3D printing for drone manufacturing. Some of them are using other things as well. We had one team last year use NinjaFlex, which is like a flexible rubbery material, because they found that with the PLA, their drone would crash and it would obviously shatter. So they're trying to figure out how to get that balance of a rigid design and a flexible design that would kind of fit the needs that they have. So that's kind of the whole nice thing about this is students are continually working through the process of iteration, okay? Again, this is not a program where you buy a drone, you fly a drone. Your students get a kit or they get parts and they assemble their drone, and then they have to continually evolve and iterate that design so that they can come up with the best flying drone for the race. Most teams, as you find a lot of times with robotics competitions as well, you'll go to a competition, you'll come back from the competitions, your kids will say, hey, we saw something that we sparked our mind, we want to totally scrap it and we're going to start over. Okay, all of that is captured in a portfolio, is captured in the video, is captured in their display that they produce as well. So all those things kind of go in that together, which is really cool. Another thing students do is they have to learn how to tune their drone. So we don't really have a programming, so it's not an autonomous drone, it's a remotely operated drone. But there is a ton of tuning that goes into this, and we use a tool called Betaflight. If you've not ever messed with this little video capture I did, just kind of exploring Betaflight, this is where my drone's plugged in, and when I plug the drone in, I can actually get visualizations on my computer screen about what's happening with that drone. There's tons of settings in here that your students can kind of tweak and tune and make adjustments. Here in a couple seconds, you'll see a video kind of showing a thing called PID tuning. So PIDs are what makes the drone work, okay? It's proportional, integral, derivative. And that curve, how that flight controller it controls how that flight controller operates when inputs are given from the student from a radio. So you can totally tune that drone for the individual pilot, right? And that piece takes, months, maybe even years to perfect. There are people that are working on this that are still continuing to make adjustments. So there's tons of things that students can learn, not coding per se, but it is a lot of tuning and a lot of adjustment. Now here you'll see what's called the command line interface, where you can actually straight code into the drone and change those settings directly if you don't have access to them through the Betaflight interface. So some really cool things. Another piece that I kind of thought about today as well, Betaflight's open source. So they're always creating new versions of Betaflight. So with that, your students could obviously get in there, they could make their own versions of Betaflight and fork off of that code base. So once everything's done, your students go to a race. So at a race, we're gonna have our World Championship race on August 12th at 2021 in Muncie, Indiana. We had a little hiccup, maybe you've heard of it, called COVID-19 that kind of could have put a kibosh on our 2020 race. But 2021, new year, hoping for the best. So we're planning that right now, and we're getting races starting to spin up around the Midwest and down in Bill's area as well, down in the South. So working on that. Now at a race, it's not just about the race. The students get judged on all of those pieces. So they get judged on the race, but here's a little video of one of our races. This is called Capture the Flag. So at our races, there's a head-to-head race where they fly through loops. And then there's a video called race called Capture the Flag, where you see these beacons. So that's a blue beacon, and this is a red team. So you'll see you flew over the beacon. There's a sensor on top that picks up the drone, and it changes from red to blue. The other team is trying to change it back to blue. So now you'll see this pilot flying around the course, trying to make sure none of those got flipped to blue when he wasn't paying attention. When he sees a blue one, then he'll fly over it, flip it back to red. So that's one portion of our race. The other is a typical head-to-head race where two drones are on the course and they're trying to race as fast as they can to get through the course. In addition to the race part, there's points for, again, your engineering, your portfolio, the marketing pieces, which you'll see here in a second in this little video. So here's some drawings that are High Five, which was our national champion last year, based on the points. Here's some of their marketing. They created social media. They created, actually, this is a little case that they keep their drone in that they branded. They created renders of their drone design. So that's not actually a drone. That's just a render. Those are renders of their drone that they did on a computer. So they're learning all kind of technology. There's their portfolio, I'm sorry, their display. Let me kind of back up and show that again. So there's their display there. Pause that. So every time they would compete, they would make this a little better. And you can see up here, they have all the versions of the frames that they developed over the course of a season. So they're continually making changes until they got to their, currently their winning design here in the middle. They get sponsors, so they have to learn how to communicate with other companies and try to pitch their idea to get team sponsors as well. One thing we're doing now this year is called a virtual race. So obviously with COVID, we've been challenged with our face-to-face races. So we're having some virtual races. And if you're interested, any student can sign up for a virtual race. They don't have to be a Drones in School member to race. They do have to download some software called Velocidrone. You'll see this is an example of what that looks like. The radios that we use, and really any commercially available radios for flight, typically will plug into your computer and can be a controller. You also could use just a regular joystick, like from a PS2 or a Microsoft joystick to run that drone. You'll see there at the bottom, you'll see the sticks moving around. That's the two joysticks that are on the controller, and kind of shows you what the pilot is doing while they're racing. So it's a pretty cool technology. These are all hosted head-to-head. It's like esports. Your students log in from home or from school. They don't have to be present at a location. They can enter from anywhere, and then they go head-to-head against other teams in a bracket to become the overall winner. Teams that enter this are also going to earn extra points towards the national championship race for Drones in School if they do decide to become a member of the program as well. So kind of a cool thing we're doing here to try to keep kids still engaged during this COVID time. We have some online resources and curriculum. I know Ken spoke about curriculum here a few minutes ago. We have, I call curriculum resources, tons of free things you can download, video tutorials for our CAD. We're looking at updating those for our new drones as well. So what equipment's required? Well, you'll need a drone, okay? You'll need some FPV goggles and you'll need a radio. So you can get those on your own. You can just, go out and buy ones that meet the criteria that we have in our season guide, or you can purchase a STEM kit. We just released our STEM kit. We actually just got the ability to order those. They should be arriving at our distributors shortly. With everything going on around the world, production has slowed down a little bit, but we're able to get those in. We hope to have those available within the next 20, 30 days for sale in US online stores. Those will also be on our website, of course. Just to give you an idea, I don't know if you can still see my video, but last year we used this size drone. And this year we've upgraded to a brushless drone, which is this size. So just a little bit of size difference there, not much, but still very safe. And allows students to have a little more power to work with and a little more flexibility with those brushless motors. So how can you get involved? Well, first of all, you can join our online races, have students get involved there and learn how to be pilots. It's a great way to hone your piloting skills. They can also start designing drones, working through the curriculum, learning project management, learning graphic design, creating a team logo, all those pieces as well. You can subscribe to our newsletter by going to dronesinschool.com. You can register a team and get started. If you don't think you want to have a team, maybe you want to just be an expert. Maybe you're somebody on the call here today that is more of a drone user. You've flown drones, you know about drones, but you're not a teacher and you don't really want to be a coach for a team. Volunteer. Call your local high school or middle school and say, would you be interested in having a drone team if I'd be willing to help out? And you'll probably find some interest there. Show you a little pitch video here we have for our Multi-GP STEM Alliance. Thank you for listening in.
Wow, that is awesome. And this is really neat. It's a flying competition, but it has a lot of elements of the design components. And I think that's really, really neat, because what you get in a competition is what you celebrate or what you give awards for, in fact. So the fact that you're giving awards for the design and the design books and things like that is really, really cool. And I just want to plug the notebooks, the engineering notebooks. That is probably the thing that is of greatest value to any company, is an engineer's notebook. Because I know that Texas Instruments here has Kilby's engineering notebook, and they keep that in a very safe place, because if they did not have that, then they would not have the patent for the microchip. So that's critical. Or the what is it? The multi
integrated circuit.
Integrated circuit. Yes. So that is critical for an engineer. There's authors write books, engineers write patents. So that's really good. It's very authentic. I really think that's cool. So now we're going to move to the opposite end of the school system, and Michael Teschler is going to present on the AUVSI Suez competition. So Tad, if you could let go of the.
Oh, sorry. Yep, stop sharing. My bad.
Philip Teschler. Whoops.
Hi there. One sec.
Am I pronouncing that right? Teschler?
It's Tischler.
Tischler.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
We have met. Okay, you were there in December.
Yeah. We have. Sorry. We're referring to we're at the Robo Nation board member meeting and competition directors summit.
Yep.
Let me just get set up.
So with regards to the high school competitions, I think there's this spectrum that I keep bringing up. It's the elementary and then university, individual and team, and flying and designing, and inexpensive to expensive. So flying is basically what you do in the younger grades, and designing is what you do in the upper grades. Individual sports is what you do in the younger grades. Team sports is what you do in the upper grades. Are you ready?
Yep. Can everyone see the slides?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, I'll get started. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Philip Tischler. I'm the technical director for AUVSI SUAS. AUVSI SUAS is an international undergraduate drone competition. As technical director, I've developed the rules. I run the website, the technical systems on site. I score teams, help coordinate things. My day job, I'm a staff engineer and manager at Google, primarily focused in cloud security. I have had prior roles, though, focused on drone development as well. SUAS, as I said, is an international undergraduate competition. There are more than 75 teams involved, comprised of over 1,000 students. We typically have more than 500 come on site. The competition requires the students to design, develop, and operate a UAS. There are 3 scored elements in the competition: a paper, a presentation, and an on-site mission demonstration. The presentations are actually nowadays done via YouTube. So you can go online and look up the presentations for how teams built, operated, and tested their systems. The on-site mission demonstration is done at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station in Webster Field in Maryland. So this is an actual naval air base with plenty of airspace to operate bigger drones over wider areas.
Was local for show that we paving the road that's opposed to the dojo. Going over your head like a top hat. Stop that. I know you hear me spitting these hot raps. Now watch that beat, cause it's about to drop. The rockets is the 09 jump off. Yeah, yo. Captain, yeah. I'm an pilot. Yeah. I want to spin my wings and fly. To all my people in coach. Yeah. And to my first class folks. Yeah. We'll show you how to scrape the sky. As the curvature of the earth takes shape, fly fast forward like a videotape and no cape. Just follow my jet stream, proud in the clouds on the boom in the precinct. I'll have no trampoline, black box in the pocket.
Wow, pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was the recap video at the end of the 2019 competition. So the competition has a few elements to it. The first is autonomous flight and navigation. The teams are required to fly autonomously from takeoff to landing. The second is obstacle avoidance. When they start their mission, they're given the position of obstacles that they must either manually or autonomously plan a flight around, and then autonomously fly that plan. So on the left here, you can see. These yellow cylinders representing obstacles they need to avoid while flying. This could be, for example, buildings or other types of. So they will take off from one of these landing strips, have to fly around these obstacles while flying. They also need to stay within the red boundary, so that's the airspace boundary. They go out of it, they get penalized for that. While they're flying, they have to do, well, first they start their mission off with a waypoint path. So that's this kind of blue dot and green outline you'll see here. So you see waypoint 2, 3, 4, and it goes on this path throughout the airfield. That's how they start their mission. And that kind of represents flying out to wherever their area of operation is. They then need to complete some tasks. They need to do imaging, detect objects we've placed out on the field. And new in 21, we are adding a mapping task where they have to stitch together images to form a single map, similar to something like what you might see on Google Maps satellite view. They also have to do package delivery. So the drone must drop a package out of the aircraft, have it land safely on a target area. So here you can see this kind of in the center, this X. It must land there. The thing they actually drop is comprised of two things: a package they're delivering, which we have them deliver a water bottle, and a unmanned ground vehicle, which then needs to drive over to another place. So they drop it out of the aircraft, it lands safely, and then drives over to a new place. And then finally, interoperability. We have the teams receive all the mission details through a web server, send all their deliverables and flight data back to the web server, and then the web server itself actually scores all their deliverables.
Orion, Seaware's 2019 aircraft, is a newly designed system with Seaware's most innovative design made to date, customized to quickly and accurately achieve all AUVSI competition objectives. Orion's airframe considers both stability and maneuverability for high-quality image capture and waypoint accuracy, as well as increased durability and flight time. The system features redundant parts, such as twin booms, twin motors, and a boom-mounted tail. Control surfaces in total on Orion have doubled in number from last year, leading to controllable and durable flight. On the front end of the fuselage, a hardware gimbal and zoom system stabilize and control our new camera, the Sony R10C. Seaware plans to attempt all mission tasks and has reliably and accurately completed the autonomous flight, obstacle avoidance, object detection, classification and localization, and airdrop tasks. Seaware is confident in the ability of the Orion system to complete all mission objectives.
So that was one of the promotional videos from one of the teams at the competition. It's the Cornell team. They go by Seaware. When I was in college, I was actually on that team and competed in this competition. So that's why I chose their video. Here you can see the other teams that competed in 2019 with representation from around the world. In the center here, you can see the things they need to detect that are on the ground. So it spells out air vehicle. They need to detect the things like the shape, the letters, the color, the GPS position of the object, and what the orientation, like north, south, east, west. You can also see we also have a special target, which is this mannequin that they must also detect, and usually human classify what the mannequin is doing. And you can see a good array of types of vehicles. You can see fixed wing aircraft, multi-rotor aircraft, flying wing type aircrafts. We also had some transitional aircraft in 2019, which are aircraft which take off more like a multi-rotor aircraft and then transition to fixed wing flight to do the actual mission. So here you can see one of the multi-rotor aircraft that were used. You can see the team loading their unmanned ground vehicle into the drone. A lot of the the multi-rotor aircraft will actually hover over the target location and drop the package using a fishing line. The fixed wing aircraft, however, will usually drop it with a parachute. Here you can see one of the fixed wing aircraft going by and dropping out their ground vehicle with a parachute. And the drop accuracy is part of the things they're judged for. So if it's from the GPS position they were supposed to hit, was it 50 feet away, 100 feet away? Here you can see that previous drone taking off. This was a different type of drone. This is a fixed wing aircraft with another fixed wing aircraft in tow. And this is the actual vehicle they used to drop. So they would separate from the main aircraft and then be controlled, essentially glided into the landing site. Here's one of the transitional aircraft. This was, if I remember correctly, the team from Australia. They vertically took off and land and then transitioned to forward flight. So you see they have the vertical rotors front and back, and then this main rotor in here, which would be how it pushed it forward flight. Here's a more traditional fixed wing aircraft. Here's another fixed wing aircraft. This is from NC State, one of the teams at the competition that have been there since the beginning. So they come back and compete every year. I think they've been there since 2003. Here's that CUAir drone. And you can see a lot of different interesting parts here. It has two rotors. It has a folding prop system, so the props actually collapse. You can see their main camera in here in the front on a gimbal rig. You can see custom electronic boards which control things, do power distribution, things like that. And then it's students, so the wiring is a bit of a mess. Some things the competition will be going towards in the future. One of the top things in the commercial industry right now is airspace integration. So how can drones do package delivery at scale in the national airspace, not on some controlled airspace like the military base? And so we'll be doing things like accurate flight tolerances where you plan a path and actually have to follow it. Cooperative 4D flight deconfliction. So it was intended to be in 2020, but because of COVID, we had to cancel. So in 2021 will be the first time we will be operating multiple drones in the air at the same time, and teams will have to deconflict from each other and avoid each other in flight. And they will do this through either sensors on board or through communication with the interoperability system, which will relay the position of each aircraft to each other. The other thing we'll be looking at is fleet scale operations. So if you are looking at your more commercial industries, they'll start operating with many, many drones in the air at the time in order to do all the deliveries. And they may not have a safety pilot or an operator per drone. They may have one operator controlling hundreds of drones and only intervening on the drones that have emergencies. And so you'll see things like multiple flights per pilot or end-to-end automation being part of the competition. For practical reasons with students and safety, it's unlikely that we'll actually do multiple vehicles per pilot, per safety pilot, that is. But we will try to maybe increase the number of drones they do fly per given team size. And if you have any more questions or are interested in signing up, you can go to this website at abusi.suas.org. There is one other thing I wanted to mention. We do actually accept high school teams as well. And in 2019, a high school team placed second a bunch of universities. So it's definitely possible for high schools to compete, and many do. And that's the end of the slides.
So is the primary cost for this competition is travel to Maryland?
Yes, that's correct. So when I was competing, the typical annual budget was something like, so the university would, so when I competed, the university provided something along the lines of like, I think it was like $13,000 to $14,000 a year. Of that, I would say about 10 to 12 of it went to travel, and 1 to 2 of it went to registration fees and various processing. And then the actual drone itself was built through sponsorship and things like that. And they design for multi-year visions, so they'll reuse components heavily from year to year. And so when they do come up with a new design, they'll scrap what's unique about, they'll rebuild what's unique about that design, but then pull over as much as they can from previous designs, reuse motors, batteries, cameras, things like that. So there's a little bit more of a cost to bootstrap a team, but after that, I would say, yeah, the team, it's primarily dominated by travel. In the past, when I was competing, there used to be a higher cost for autopilots, but I think the open source world has kind of started to dominate, and that has brought costs down tremendously as well. We also,
software.
Go ahead.
What is the autopilot, a software package?
So I think common autopilots are usually derivatives of like the ArduPilot type stuff with like Pixhawk and things like that, or PX4. Those are kind of the dominating ones today. In the past, there have been commercial options which have costs anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 to purchase, and those were very expensive, obviously. But most teams these days are now on the open source standards. But
how many people are on each team?
So real quick, one thing to add about the autopilot, a lot of teams do extend it as well. I know the Cornell team implements their own L2 controller for flight path. So this allows them to more accurately control what happens around how the drone hits a waypoint. So, typically you may say, go from this waypoint to that waypoint to that waypoint. And they want to be able to more accurately determine what's going to happen in terms of will the path that they arc through when turning from one waypoint to the next cause them, for example, to hit an obstacle. And so they actually modify the autopilot in order to have more control over that. In terms of what are the team sizes, they vary dramatically. A new team will typically be bootstrapped with about 4 to 5 members. Established teams that have been running for years, I think my old team is up to like 70 to 80 people, comprised of all your disciplines. They'll have mechanical, electrical, software. They'll typically have business majors to run marketing and financing and sponsorship arms, and things like that.
Awesome. Very cool. Any other questions? Okay, well, I will thank you very much, Philip. That was really, really interesting and very, very different than the younger groups. So now I want to say a few things, and then I'm going to let Bill Richardson talk about what it's like to be a coach. So let me grab the screen here. So you saw the difference between more of a younger student and a university's competition. They are very, very different, and they generally follow along a spectrum like this. The elementary generally can be very, very small teams. Universities, to be successful, are very large teams. They usually have larger drones. They are often very expensive. They usually have large teams, and they are more likely to be a designing competition rather than a flying competition. So you can see the difference between the younger and the older. They both are celebrating design. They both celebrate teamwork. They both celebrate sharing ideas and celebrate excellence. This is where we're trying to find a space. So there are lots and lots of flying, racing competitions around. We're not, so when I say that, that's this group that has put on this conference and wants to move forward with other ways to support K-12 teachers. One of the things, as I said during the curriculum piece, was that a good competition would fit in nicely with curriculum. So it gives a teacher a nice project to work on in the classroom that would lead to lots of good learning for the students. So the competition that we're thinking about will celebrate all of these more technical interests. It's going to focus on design, it's going to focus on teamwork, it's going to focus on sharing ideas, and it's going to celebrate excellence as opposed to competence. So an A in a classroom is competence. Excellence is I want to be the very best. So there's a difference in competitions and the way regular classrooms go. A third of the class may get an A, but only one is going to be the very best. And that's what competitions do, is that they push people to be the very best. And we think that that's a positive thing to do. And that's one of the reasons we want to get into this. But we don't want it to be quite as difficult as the SUAS. The SUAS is a very difficult competition. Yes, there are some high schools in it. And just like in spare parts, they can do well if they've got the right teacher and everything goes their way. But there are ways we think, to modify it so that it will be a little easier for high school students. We're looking for a stock drone. So it's very similar in some respects to the school drones in schools, in that it has a specific weight, it has specific motors, it has specific batteries that you're supposed to stay within and to use in the competition. But not so much control over the stock so that you can't do a lot of design as well. So you'll be able to purchase a stock drone if you choose to, but the really good teams, the teams that are going to do really well, are going to be the ones who design their drone. We're looking for authentic scenarios. And this is just like for both of the competitions. The rules for both competitions, if I believe, and Tad and Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, the rules don't change from year to year. The missions do. So you choose a different mission and you choose a different theme to base your program on, your competition, but the rules stay the same. The stock power of your motors, the stock battery is going to stay the same, but the mission will change, and it will generally change according to the cool things that are going on in industry. This year, we're thinking the Ingenuity Mars copter might be a really cool thing to use as a theme for the missions that the drone would accomplish. So the missions change every year. They generally will have a lifting challenge of some sort, and then maybe a drop challenge, just like in the SUAS competition. There's often a sensing challenge that's in the Suez competition as well. A traffic challenge. So you've got a bunch of drones running around. How do you manage the traffic so they don't run into each other? And then possibly have a coordination challenges, like the drones that were used in the Super Bowl halftime, or the drones that were used in Biden's celebration. So those are the many different things that we're thinking of doing with a high school design competition. That's what this organization is all about. If you're interested in working on that competition, we would love to have you. That's the next thing that our advisory board is going to be working on. So that's what I have. If you have any questions about the high school competition, I'd love to answer them. If you want to be part of that, I would love to have you on our board. But Bill, I'd like you to say a few things about what it's like to be a coach on a team and some of the positive aspects it has on your students. Do you want the screen?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
There you go.
Let me see if I can actually make it work. All right, can anybody see my PowerPoint?
Not yet.
Okay, hang on. Share screen. All right. Well, all right, can you see it now?
We can see it.
Okay. My name is Bill Richardson.
I'm sorry, Bill, you might want to blow it up a little bit.
It is. On my end, it is.
Possibly run it as a slideshow?
Give me a second and let me, well, all right. I'm gonna have to edit in just a second.
There we go.
Oh, you got it. Okay. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't know what I clicked, but it works. My name is Bill Richardson. I am an engineering and robotics teacher at Ridgeland High School in Mississippi. There's one of my pictures. I'm been in the aerial hobby for 22 or more years. Basically, when I got married, a friend of mine introduced me to it. I've been flying fixed wing, rotary, and multi area drone stuff ever since 1997-ish. And it's been a hobby of mine, but got into education, and I teach engineering and robotics. I'm a national board certified teacher. Part 107 as well, kind of run a small side aerial business, trying to at least, and doing a lot of different things that way. And one of the things that I firmly believe in is education through competition. So I'm always looking for competitions for my students to get into, because I just like to compete, and I've gotten the most out of my students when that happens. We've been to VEX Robotics World Championships 5 years in a row. And by chance, that's how I met Tad. Was I turned the corner one day and here's this guy that talked kind of funny, he's a Yankee, I'm way down south and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, okay. And he had a little drone there. And so I just started talking RC airplane stuff, and I brought a kid over and they were like, oh, I like that. So we didn't set anything up that year, but last year I had every intention of doing it, and we started, but we kind of had a late start just due to typical school stuff, new curriculum, not new curriculums, curriculum, all that kind of stuff. So basically what happened was there are only 2 schools in the South, well, at least in Mississippi, that there were no other competitions around the South to travel to except for ours. And I had the most teams. So Dr. Richard Humphreys on the Gulf Coast said, hey, I've got a team, let's get together. So as it got closer, the hardest part about the drones in school to me was not the flying, not the teamwork and all, but it's the actual manufacturing aspect of it, because then the real science comes in of, lift versus drag, lift versus mass, all that, engine and motor efficiency. So the kids come up with these great, weird, crazy designs, but then when we 3D print them, too heavy or too brittle, or it warped, or it's too hard to get out of the support structures, or all these different things that they had to work through. So in my engineering classes, we focus mainly on robotics, manufacturing, and CAD, mainly CAD. So once we got Autodesk Fusion 360, which is a free CAD program, several of the kids really took off and started coming up with their own designs. The only problem is they were a little too thick in some areas, and so they had too much mass. As the competition got closer, the pilots were just going nuts. They were having fun. This, I don't know if you can see it, get it out of the, well, there we go. A little bitty Inductrix is our practice. We convinced our district, we're one of the top 3 districts in our state, so kind of get a little extra money. He bought us 8 of those and some radios and some headsets. And so we can practice pretty much all day long. And so what my kids do is, it's one of the strangest things ever. Last year it was kind of new. So they're like, hey, can we go out in the hall and practice? Sure. So you had the safety officer, co-pilot, and the pilot, and they would go out in the hall, and we taught safety routines, all that sort of stuff. But these things would be zipping up and down the hallways, not between classes, but when the hallways were basically empty, or they would go fly in the rotunda, and principals would come out and watch, and other teachers, oh, that's neat, and so forth. And so then when we started building the hoops and the capture the flag things, then it got serious. And so they got really into the routines, and they were my 2 teams would go out after school and race in the rotunda, and it just started garnering a lot of attention for the good. And when the competition came, the unfortunate part is both Dr. Humphreys and I, none of our teams had manufactured a drone. We had the frames, we had everything printed, but it was just, we were too far down the road to do enough testing and so forth. And that's our fault. That's not any reflection of anything else. So we agreed we're not going to hold our kids back. So we kind of all met at my school. We set up the course. We had judges. We had everything. And we just put on a show. We got out there and we raced, and kids were having a blast. We had a basketball gymnasium full of people, parents. We even invited the school board, everybody up. And so we flew, and so this is the group of students. 2/3 are mine, 1/3 is the other school. And can you see my mouse? Okay, see this young man right here? All right, this is the best pilot I had. He graduated, and I got a story to tell about him. This guy, I still have him, and he is really good. So Carlton right here, during the competition, the other school that came 3 hours away basically to fly, they were having trouble with capture the flag. And what we noticed is that there was a lot of camaraderie. While there was still, we want to win, it's camaraderie. So they could not figure out how to do capture the flag, because once you're over the sensor, you can't see under you. So they were having trouble hovering over the pylon. So my pilot had developed a technique that ensured him every shot he would turn a pylon over to his color. So he goes and he teaches them how to do it in the middle of the competition, and then they beat him by 3 seconds. So, it was one of those things where I was like, as a competitive coach, I don't want that to happen. But on the other side of things, I want the sport to grow, and we're the lead group in the state that does it. So my team won the engineering notebook, their team won the technical flights, and we decided not to really declare a winner of the booths, because there was only 2 of them, and we were just having a lot of fun. But they did interview with our ROTC instructor. He's Air Force, so he had a lot of airplane experience. So through that, my kids kind of got on fire about it. So this young man, Carlton, he already wanted to be an Air Force pilot. Because of this drone competition, he got interested in his Part 107 and all that. He wound up getting a full scholarship to the local community college where they have not only a drone program, but they have a full commercial flight program. So he got a full scholarship. He's doing his commercial pilot there. There's also another full scholarship waiting for him at a 4-year college up in the northern part of our state for commercial airline pilot. So he, because of these drone things, he was able to write some really incredible essays as to what it meant. Full college is paid for because of what he got out of drones in school. So after that, and then we had a recruiting day where all the 8th graders come up and sit in an auditorium. And so I got my drone crew and we flew out 6 drones out in front of the audience and up the aisles. And there's like drones swarming all over the place. And it didn't matter what I said, okay, because all the attention was on the drones. So it was a really good thing to recruit for my program. So I had a lot of kids this year. Then that great pause hit called COVID. I'm down in number of students by 22, which is a lot of my freshmen. They're chomping at the bits right now, trying to get into it. We changed freshman curriculum to PLTW. And what I'm finding is that my robotics that we used to be really good at and so forth does not fit that curriculum very well because it just doesn't integrate. However, drones in school integrates right into it because it's very heavy CAD based, problem solving, manufacturing. It's a lot of problem solving. So we're integrating that, and I'm starting that next 9 weeks in all of my freshman classes. My upper level classes are just saying, hey, when we got to start? Let's go, let's go, let's go. So this past 2 weeks, they've started flying out in the hallways, and here we go again. The principal's like, hey, nice flight, turn the corner harder. You know, it's an expected routine in the school now. The neat thing to watch is in the classroom, I never know who I'm going to have visiting. Generally, administrators stay out of my room because it's well above their head. But we have big banners from VEX World Championships. We have flags, we have hoops, we have all kinds of stuff hanging. The kids last year and this year make a course. They'll go dip under a table. They'll go up the wall behind 2 or 3 flags, down these cabinets, and they literally have their own race course inside of the classroom. And it's nothing to have them racing in the classroom, not real fast, but just keeping their skills up. And then I'll say, hey, can we go out in the hallway? Then that's when they turn on the speed. So as a coach, the hardest things I'm finding is just the manufacturing part of it. And really that's just a matter of spending time on it, which we all know as teachers, that's kind of a hard thing to do. But the desire is there. Not everybody wants to be a pilot because they're not that good. The ones that are really good, they know it and they can do it. So generally what I do is I tend to let them show that they are the best. I still rotate out a little bit because I want everybody to fly and to understand that job. And then another area where we weak in is like the marketing and so forth, because it's just not what I do. So I've got to learn that myself and teach them how to do it. But to me, it's a natural fit for high school students in any technical STEM field. I absolutely love it. This year we had a choice between another competitor, which is the VEX RAD, and drones in school. And I'm not saying anything bad about the other, but it's basically buy it and fly it. And every single kid that we had said, nope, that's not what we want. We want to build it. We want to test it. We want to fly it. And so we've now got 4 drones in schools teams. Still, Dr. Humphreys has got his down south. Our career in tech is getting a team or 2 soon. And there's rumors and so forth up in the north part of the state. There's going to be 2 or 3 more. So it's growing very fast. We're hoping to kind of meet Tad and some others at the national championships coming up in the spring. So we'll bring on some action, but it's an incredible program for me. I absolutely love it. And now that, like yesterday, we had a big outdoor pep rally. We lost a third of our school population to virtual because we're a split. So social distancing and all that, we put like home side and away side, everybody's spread out, football teams all over the field. And since I've got my Part 107, I do all the hype portion of the videos for aerial photography and all that. And so one of my kids who flies the drones, he's normally my spotter, but they made him sit in the audience. He's like, Mr. Richardson, you got too close to that pole. I was like, boy, leave me alone until you can fly this thing. Be quiet. But it's one of those things where now they're starting to critique each other. I fly an Autel Evo 2 Pro, and it has radar and everything on it, so it's much bigger. But now they're starting to learn to critique, hey, I need to do this better. I need to do this smoother. And the flight geometry is even coming out. And I even sent one kid to the geometry teacher the other day to start working out a few. Amazingly, we're doing triangles, trying to figure out how to smooth his curves out. So I just didn't want to tell him do it this way. I want him to figure it out. So that's about all I've got. Let me show you. Oh yeah. So let me finish this out by showing you this. This is, these are all homemade. Tad, I think they're up on the, up in a folder that we have. This is, okay, so this was with the gym lights on, okay? Now, this was the fun part. I don't advise this, okay? We were doing it because, hey, we thought it'd be cool, except for the audience could not see it. The FPV guys were loving it. They were just zooming around and doing all kinds of stuff. So we put somebody kind of out there seeing, hey, did they actually go through the hoop or not? That was the funnest part. This was my good pilot, Carlton. That was his co-pilot. He loved sitting on the floor and flying like that. He flew no other way. His head would be almost on the floor sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, this is probably hard to see, but this is, we're flying in the dark. It's just the coolest thing for them to do. And even the parents, they could see them. And they were having a really, really cool time. You can see kind of going through. And they're crashing on the floor. And they're not the easiest things to do. There's another picture. So probably one of the most beneficial things that you can do as a coach, though, and I will tell you this right now, is if you have a competition or you come to one of mine, get your parents, sit them in the audience, and then at the end of the competition, put them on the drones. Let a student teach a parent or a school board member, hey, let's fly the drone. Because that made more to those parents than anything, and now they support my program. The school board member is like, he just couldn't believe it. And he immediately went back and talked about how good it was and so forth. So it's beneficial to you, the school, everything. So that's about all I got. Any questions?
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Bill. We're a little over 4 o'clock. Tad, thank you very much for your presentation. Philip, thank you for your presentation. We're done for the day. We would love to have you guys next year, and we hope to stay in touch. Thanks a lot for your help on this.
Yeah, thank you for hosting. It's been a wonderful day.
Great. Talk to you later. Bye.